I'm Fena with Accomplished Quilting here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And today I have with us in the store Ron White, not the comedian, Ron White the quilter. And Ron is a specialist in GFE, Grand Format Embroidery. So Ron, what is Grand Format Embroidery?
The grand part means big. We can do much bigger embroideries than people can do on their home or in fact their commercial embroidery machines. So that just opens up so many possibilities of what we can do with the Innova Grand Format Embroidery over and above what people can do with embroidery machines.
And it also crosses over into quilting.
Oh, yes.
So you can embroider and quilt on the same machine. And that's the Innova Longarm quilting machines. The AutoPilot Mach 3 has a module inside of it called Grand Format Embroidery. And when you purchase the rights to use that, it will be activated and you'll be able to use Grand Format Embroidery without adding hardware to your machine. It already exists there in the M series. And the really cool thing is Ron has shown his enthusiasm. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, a lot of fun. He comes in here with projects all the time. And so I'm gonna let him take it from here and tell you all about his experience with Grand Format Embroidery and show you all the things he's been showing us. And we're excited to have him here today. So Ron, it's all yours.
So you've seen my excitement. Let me tell you a little bit about how I got here. I have a background in computers. I've been a computer guy for 43 years and I'm a software engineer right now. I've also got an engineering background, an electronics background. So when I decided that I wanted to buy a long arm quilting machine, I researched all the brands. But I was so impressed with the software in the Innova, the user interface. I was very impressed with the engineering of the Innova machine from the electronic standpoint and from the mechanical standpoint. And because of that, it just stood head and shoulders above all the other brands. And because of that, I bought my Innova quilting machine. So the first week that I had my Innova quilting machine, I was so excited, and I was just playing with a lot of things. I had 5 quilts that I was waiting to finish. I finished those, and this is one of the first things that I did right here. You know, it's a tiny little thing, but it's like, oh, let me do some embroidery. And so I was so happy with that. I just kept going on with the Grand Format Embroidery, and I'm pursuing what can be done, and I have a lot of projects in my head. And so, with the Grand Format Embroidery, you can quilt through the quilt sandwich as you see here. Here's another example where you can quilt through the quilt sandwich. Now this block here is a series of 20, and I'm going to make a whole quilt with these 20 blocks here. Now sometimes, if you're going to hang it on the wall, which this would be, you're not really worried so much about changing the bobbin thread and matching that, but in other cases you want to do that because you're going to flip it over. And so for example, with this placemat here, this placemat is a 2-sided placemat. I've done the pattern with 2 different colors. It's a little subtle here, but you can flip this over, and you could do Christmas color on one side and Thanksgiving color on another side if you want to do that. Sometimes though, you want to quilt through the quilt fabric itself and then quilt that later into a project. Like, this could be a pillow right here. So this was done right on the quilt fabric with stabilizer. I also put a sheet of Mylar under this when I started quilting. My joke is that a pixie collided with the sunflower and there's pixie dust all over the sunflower. You can also, with Grand Format Embroidery and with the Innova machine itself, whether you're quilting or embroidering, you can use any size thread. You can use the really thin 100 weight thread. You can use all the way up to 12 weight thread. So this is an example. No, you don't see this. This is an example of 12 weight thread. So I did this sunflower here with a real heavy 12 weight thread. So you can do that. You can do things like that also. Sometimes this one here, I left it on the stabilizer because you might want to take things like this and leave the stabilizer on. You can put this in a picture frame, just like you would put the matting for a print. Here's another example of the Mylar and quilting. Let me move some things here, sorry. Here's a piece I just finished before this video. I'm very excited about this. So this piece is a series from John Deere. It's called Damask series. And I'm going to put this back on the quilting machine now, and I'm going to quilt through, and this is going to be a wall hanging. Now in this case, you see, even though I didn't change the bobbin color, you see that the color reads pretty well even on the back because it's such a dense, it's all satin stitch. It's such a dense quilt embroidery. Here's another example of quilting the top and then later quilting through. And you'll also notice that I've signed the quilt. You know, we quilters, we're always supposed to sign our quilt with our name and the city, state, and the year. And so I embroidered that on there. So you can embroider just the simple names. You can embroider a very fancy, very colorful quilt label if you want to. You can just embroider through one layer, or you can embroider through the whole thing if you like.
Let's see the back of that one.
And see here, you can really see how I quilted the sunflower on the top and then later made the quilt sandwich. And so the back just has the quilting itself instead of the embroidery shining through. Because if this is a quilt, it's going to be more comfortable to not have the embroidery, you know, against your skin.
Okay.
So you've seen that we can do pretty large things with the embroidery. You can also do very long things, and GFE may present you with some business opportunities. This was done as a proof of concept for a motion picture production studio in California. They wanted 100 feet of this on red silk in 10-foot sections. Well, you can't do that at home on your home embroidery machine. So this is all satin stitch. And yes, it takes a long time to stitch something like this with satin stitch, but
Ron, how long did it take to do this piece?
This piece here took 12 hours. So this is the repeat. So for 100 feet, it would have been 33 of these repeats. And yes, because it's satin stitch, it does take a bit of time to do that. But not everything takes that long to embroider. And
looking at the rooster and the sunflowers, how long did it take to do the rooster?
The rooster is probably, half an hour, maybe 45 minutes to do. So we're going to have some classes coming up pretty soon on GFE. And one of the things that we'll show you in the classes is how to get some speed and when you can go fast and when you have to go slow. And so you might look for our classes in collaboration with Accomplished Quilting in the future, all about GFE, what you can do with it, and how to get the best results from it.
Okay. So Ron, what you've done here is magnificent, but you came in the door with something today that we just want to give you guys a little tip off about, and it's on the screen.
Oh, okay. Let me go get that.
Ron, my goodness, whatever possessed you to embroider on a screen?
Just because we can.